Walk me through what it's like to be pulled off the street, interrogated. How is your heart not beating out of your chest?
It is. It's a terrifying feeling.
And do they just expect you to be scared? Because it's like, well, whether this guy's guilty or not, he's going to be freaked out. This is weird.
There's a recipe for a really good interrogation. And we learn the recipe when we're at the agency because we're supposed to use it against our targets.
So you know what's coming.
Correct. So what ends up happening, or what ends up happening in my case in Shadow Cell, is because they have a different recipe, right? Kestrel follows a different recipe when I'm in Falcon than what we follow here in the United States. So right away, when I see the disparity between what we do and what they do, I'm starting to understand that they're losing advantages that they could have. As an example, it's very common.
Because they're doing it worse.
They're doing it differently, but they're doing it wrong, in my opinion, right?
So inside you're like, bitch, please.
Kind of. For real, though. For real, because there's an element, as a basic example. When you snatch somebody off the street, you need to assume where they're physiologically going to be. Heart racing, body temperature increasing, sweats, right? Their perspiration is going up. They're burning calories. Their glucose is dropping. You got all these things that you can assume right away. Well, what's the best way to maximize the impact? It's to then put them in a room and leave them alone for a long period of time. Let that adrenaline dump happen. Let the sweat turn into cold on their skin. Let them get nervous. Observe them the whole time. Change the temperature in the room. There's all sorts of shit you can do before you ever say a word. That's not what they did. So right away, I was seeing the difference between what they were doing and what we were trained to do, which gave me confidence that I could fall back on my training to resist or counter the interrogation. So control my breathing, control my energy burn, regain my mental clarity, and then before I knew it, the interrogation was starting. And then as the interrogation progressed, I could even see in their questioning, in their relationship with the two interrogators, you could see these gaps. Every time you see a gap in an interrogation, it really is like a scoreboard in a soccer game where it's like a point for me, not for them. A point for me, not for them. And that's really how you survive any kind of long, extended captivity, is you're constantly keeping score. Where did I win? Where did they win? And who's winning the game overall?
Okay, how long were you interrogated for?
It was about 2.5 hours.
Wow. Okay, and they just suspected that you were spying, like you were doing suspicious behavior. Like, what was it that triggered them?
We actually don't know. We've done all of our counterintelligence reviews with the agency and within our own cell. We suspect that what happened is that my identity document was flagged. And then because of when my flagged document tried to cross a border, they pulled in whatever team was available at the moment. Part of that was our intention. We're taught that when you try to escape across a border, you want to do it at a time that's a low period so that the best players in the game aren't on the field, right? So you try to get in early, you try to get out late, but you don't try to do something at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was trying to evac early, and I got the B team or possibly the D team that was available on site to interrogate me. And then it worked out for the best. So the theory behind the process of Tradecraft worked in our case.
Okay. Whew, I mean, this has got to be very stressful. It ends up for you guys being the punchline. Okay, we're going to tap out. What was it, Jihi, that made you want to eject? Okay, we've done our time. We've served the country, and now we're done.
Andy wanted to leave.
Would you have stayed?
I would have stayed.
She'd still be
Now,
there.
why didn't you stay? So he's more at physical risk.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you didn't say, hey, cool, totally get it. Go do your thing. I'm going to stay here.
So for me, it really came down, when I'm making a big decision, I make this pros and cons list. And it really just came down to, we had a baby and we wanted another one. And we were, by that time, working in DC again. And I just saw, Andy was making more than I was at the time, and DC's an expensive place to live. So daycare was really expensive, and I thought, if we have a second one of us will have to stay home. We can't, on our government salaries, afford two in daycare. So not only would one of us have to stay home, but we'd have to move further away than we were from the agency. We used to live a 20-minute commute. And so we'd have to move an hour out. One of us wouldn't be working. Most likely it would be me because Andy had a higher salary and I was the one who wanted to work.
Yeah.
So
very pedestrian reasons, right?
Yeah.
But that's what it comes down to. CIA officers are still just everyday people.
Right.
Yeah. And so Andy said, let's move, to Florida and be by your parents and they can help us with the kids. And I was like, after a lot of convincing, I was like, all right. I was like, I moved away from home. Like, I have
reason,
made it. You know, like, this is exactly where I should be right now. But he convinced me in the end that it would be best for our family. And that's what really matters the most to us.
All right, parents are about threat detection. It's one of the core parts of the job. You guys have a very unique insight into the level of risk that we are at as a nation. As a mom, how do you parse through all of that, knowing what you know? Do you want to feed your kids the narrative so that they feel comfortable? Or do you want them to be like, hey, listen, all these other kids think the world is one thing, but it's not that. It's
And
this.
are you going to filter your answer right now? That's what I'm going to be paying attention for.
Let's go, man.
I like to filter. So far, our kids are 12 and 8. And up until this year, I felt like they were just too young to really understand. But now that my son's 12, I'm starting to talk to him more about what's on the news. And I'm starting to find ways to talk to my daughter. My daughter, she's very girly and she likes makeup and she wears these very fashionable clothes. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you are in danger. Like you could be molested by somebody. Like you know, there's so many things in your future that I have to protect you from. So I am now starting to, I think they're developmentally ready for me to start introducing the dangers of the world, because I think we have to. I don't want my kids to feel that the world is a dangerous place, but I also feel like it's my job to protect them.
I think we also don't want them to feel like the world is a safe place.
Yeah.
The world is just the world. It's a place. It's got dangerous people. It's got helpful people. But
Yeah.
people are just people. And the only person, the place where it all starts, where your defense really starts, is with yourself. We've been teaching our son self-rescue since he was probably 6 or 7 years old.
What's self-rescue?
You are your own first line of rescue. So we will compliment him sometimes and say, hey, good job self-rescuing, right? Whether that's falling off the edge of a pool into the water with your shoes and clothes on, whether that's not going down a dirt path that has, you know, snakes in it or something. Like when they make a good decision that enhances their personal safety, we will call that a good job at self-rescue. When they identify that they're out of their own water, like their water bottle's empty, that sort of thing that shows that their awareness for their own self-preservation, that's what we're trying to encourage.
What do you tell them about the gray?
Our daughter lives in the
the
gray
gray.
already. She's naturally predisposed.
You guys are like, yeah, that's our kid.
We're
Yeah,
very
yeah.
proud of it, and it's also hugely inconvenient.
Yeah, our son is very black and white. He is very uncomfortable with gray areas. He is very uncomfortable with untruths. And so I think he requires more work to understand that you can't necessarily live black and white. You can't always be the one telling the truth.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
Because sometimes you need to refrain. And then our daughter, I think, has it just like Andy said. I think our daughter has it down already. She knows.
She got an intuitive understanding
Yes,
for that one.
she does.
That's very interesting. Okay, I would clock that as women use a different strategy in life. They don't approach things front on. So women, the likelihood that she gets into a fist fight is very low, but the likelihood that she uses a reputational form of violence is very high. Do you guys clock it that way? That didn't seem to line up earlier. That's why I was asking about targeting, if that was more a female-centric thing, which doesn't seem to be.
Yeah.
But does that read seem, given that you psychologically profile people, does that seem to fit or no?
I'm curious what your answer is here, because for me, it's not broken down on gender lines. It's broken down on personality, and it's broken down on like natural energetic tendencies, what they can and can't read about another person, what they do and do not like to do themselves. Like everybody has the capacity to manipulate, but how do they manipulate? Even our son, who's very black and white, will manipulate with feelings. He'll He'll come up when he wants something really badly. He'll come up and just assume he can't get it, and he'll demonstrate sadness, and he'll be like, "I know you're going to say no, but I'm just wondering if." And that is a manipulative approach.
Yeah.
He may not see it that way himself as a 12-year-old. He may see it as just sharing his
Expressing
true
how I feel.
feelings.
Yeah.
But because he's sharing his feelings before the actual decision, it is manipulative.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your answer is. I don't see it as a gender thing at all.
Yeah, I'm very careful not to split things by gender unless it's something that's culturally affected. So cultural gender roles. I think those are very valid in the way that people behave. But I think things like are they straightforward, or are they come at you from the side? I don't see that as gender based.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do see that as personality based, energy based. There are so many other factors that go into the way a person is than gender. Although I do think that I think that the cultural manipulations of how genders are supposed to be, you can look at that, but it's not the whole picture.
You even talk about biology, values, and
Yes.
beliefs, right? The biology element is legit. I don't think that the penis or vagina is the biology that matters as much as the beliefs about what it means that you have a penis or a vagina. Those beliefs kind of dictate how you carry out your behaviors and how others interpret your behaviors more so than the biology itself.
Interesting. I have a hypothesis that algorithms know with more than 90% accuracy whether somebody's male or female, literally just by what they linger on, what they like. Do you guys think that's crazy?
I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think that's crazy.
So we are leaking our gender in some way.
Our gender
Yes.
identity, at
Our
least.
gender identity.
Interesting. What do you think is a stronger driver? The biology, or I guess you've already answered this, the biology or the sense of identity? I would say biology 1,000 times.
I would say identity more than biology.
Yeah.
Because
I would too.
what's interesting is in our experience, when you're targeting a source of information, you literally can't approach the same person the same way if time has passed. Because the 22-year-old person is very different when they're 42. Their biology is only aged. Otherwise, it's still the same. Same genetic code, maybe they have more constipation, who knows? But they haven't changed genetically, biologically, very much. But everything else about values, beliefs, perspectives, opinions, all of that has been changed over 20 years of history and experience. So you have to adapt to how you approach them. That's a core element in espionage, is understanding that whoever you meet today, if you meet someone today who doesn't have access to any secrets, but is very good at keeping a secret, 30 years from now, that person might be CEO of a government contracted company, and you already know they can keep a secret. So now they have access they didn't have when they were 20, and you know that they're good at keeping secrets. So now all of a sudden they're infinitely more valuable, but you can't approach them the same way 30 years later. You have to approach them differently. They might have known you when they were 22, but now that they're 52, they have different motivational levers that you can pull on.
Right. Do you guys think that being spies has influenced how you engage with each other as husband and wife?
Oh,
Absolutely.
How?
I don't lie to her because
She's too good at detecting?
She's just too good at seeing it. She's too good at seeing it. If she sees it, I won't know that she saw it, right? So she's going to have leverage over me. So it's way better to tell her the truth, because then she has to react to the truth. And I know CIA has taught me how to observe her, so I can see that she's slower at processing the truth. And that slower processing gives me more space to kind of win points back, if you will, for whatever I do wrong, whether it's yelling at the kids or not buying the right type of bread or whatever it might be in our everyday life. So there's all sorts of benefits there. Plus, we communicate about mundane things and high impact things with a whole different vocabulary. A vocabulary that we learned at the agency about everything from personality types to cognitive distortions to strategic elements and planning. When she talks about a combo plan, I know exactly what she means. I know exactly what steps would be involved. So when she says to me before I travel to Africa, well, what's the combo plan? I already know what she's talking about. It's a whole different language.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think the shared vocabulary is something that I think we have that possibly other couples don't have. And part of that shared vocabulary is just what we feel, I want to say comfortable, but what we are willing to talk about. So hard conversations, we know is a requirement. I think most couples avoid hard conversations, but we know we have to have them, and we have a vocabulary that we can use to get ourselves through those hard conversations. It doesn't mean that those look great. I mean, that might be 3 days of Andy getting no sex and me being really furious and, but at the end of it, we've made it through, right? And we have the vocabulary to close that out and move on and be better.
It doesn't mean we don't have misunderstandings. We're still a married couple. Just as a quick story, we were at the Grove in LA just a few days ago. Great place. And we had just purchased dessert for the kids. They had a good lunch. It was a big day, so we got them something sweet. One got ice cream, one got boba tea. Well, Jihi looks at me in the middle of the fucking Grove with these kids running around and all this chaos happening, and she's like, "Do you want anything sweet?" And of course I respond, "No, I'm fine." And then we leave 15 minutes later and she's angry. And I'm like, "Why are you angry?" She's like, "Well, I wanted something sweet." I was like, "I don't remember you asking for anything sweet." And she's like, "I said, do you want anything sweet?" And to me, I was like, you asked me if I wanted something sweet. And I said no because you're on a diet. Because you're always on a diet. Because that's
also, you got to compete with the skinny bitches. So I feel it.
So there's always miscommunication that still happens as married couples. The vocabulary doesn't replace the lack of communication, but at least we're able to talk about it where I'm like, "Why won't you say what you mean?" And then she can come back and she can just say, "I feel uncomfortable." That is a conversation that many married couples don't get to have.
Oh, they don't even know how to have it.
Yeah.
Lisa and I talk about that a lot. We try to talk in insecurities. So it's like, once you can do that, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I get where we're at. Totally understand. But if you don't, and it just stays in that emotional place, it gets bad fast.
Yeah.
It's wild.